So here's the first heat of the men's 3,000 metres. We'll try and get back across that heptathlon long jump as it develops. Tim van der Bert of the Netherlands goes in lane 1. A whole load of men in this field got personal bests from Metz of 7:44. Now most of these men have a faster indoor personal best than this guy, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, but 7:27 outdoors, and he won his 10th European title last night in the 1,500 metres. It's very, very hard to bet against this man. He's trying to become the first athlete to three-peat in the men's 3,000 metres. Jakob Ingebrigtsen, I'm very sure, will sit at the back, relaxing as much as possible. It's going to be 6 athletes and then 3 advancing on time.
So Ingebrigtsen back after that.
Sam Parsons joining Jakob Ingebrigtsen at the back. Tim van der Bert, the first of the athletes, keen for an honest pace here. It's in your own interest if you want to get a non-automatic qualifying time, but also if you're the likes of Sam Parsons and some of the other top performers in this race, you want Jakob Ingebrigtsen to be as tired as possible as we look towards the 3,000 metre final tomorrow. Presuming that the 10-time European champion makes the final, it's a fair assumption to make.
We guarantee a place in the final.
The lead now being overtaken. The athlete from Macedonia, Dario Ivanovski, has done under 8 minutes. He's keen to get himself a personal best. We saw that a lot of the athletes in the first heat in the women's 3,000 as well. They went very nicely and quickly. National record for Rickardson, lots of personal bests in that first heat in the women's 3,000. A load more yesterday as well. So through the first 400, about 64, 65 seconds. 64 per 400 is bang on 8-minute pace. Keep our eye on those splits, certainly as we advance towards the second heat, so we can understand where the non-automatic qualifiers might come from. Ivanovski is content to lead at the moment. Augusto of France relaxing there in 3rd place. Do you think Pietro Riva of Italy is just getting overtaken by Jack Rowe? My assumption was, with a 27:50 10k time and a 60.5 minute half marathon time, the Italian really wouldn't want to burn up here. He has done very handy 7:49 this season, so perhaps happy just to let someone else do the leading.
Good clearance by the French athlete.
Dario Ivanovski still in the lead.
Which is due to be 5 metres and 65. No changes as they come past us on the home straight in this first heat of the men's
800 metres, so one more lap and we'll get the kilometre splits and tell us a little bit more about the speed that they're moving at. 240 kilometres gives you 8 minutes. Qualifying mark for this championships was 7:48, but 8 minutes is kind of the equivalent to 9 minutes in the women. It's a respectable time, but you'd expect them to all be able to kick it in and run faster. Ivanovski of Macedonia has run just a notch out underneath 8 minutes. So here they go, first kilometre 2:42. It's not that quick. You can see Jack Rowe of Great Britain itching to get at the front. He might want to push that on just a tiny bit. Jack Rowe more towards the 5k spectrum of an athlete. Jack Rowe hasn't got into the lead, but he's almost forcing Ivanovski to pick up his pace here. It's not that quick, 33 seconds per 200 metres. They've dipped well outside 8-minute pace here. Someone is going to have to make a very, very big move. That's halfway, 1,500 in 4:03. Double that, you get 8:06. It's not that good a time over 3,000 metres. Need to pick up their pace. We could see a ferocious last 800 or 1,000 metres in this heat.
Nevertheless, this is making life very easy for the quick men in there, the likes of Rowe, Riva, Heymans and Danielson. I think they'll all be quite happy with this. With 6 to go through from each of the 2 first rounds, it's comfortable qualifying conditions for most of these men. And Jakob Ingebrigtsen, he's just been in penultimate position as he's been throughout this race. The only man tucked in behind him, Germany's Sam Parsons. Parsons, of course, very good man himself. 7:39 Parsons. World Championships 5,000 metres finalist last year in Eugene. probably on paper the second best man in this field after Ingebrigtsen. And I think he knows as well that he's got to finish. They can just let everybody sort themselves out, just take their time. Parsons just watching everything that's going on. I wouldn't be at all surprised is when Ingebrigtsen makes his move, which is almost inevitable. Parsons just follows in his slipstream and tucks himself in and just sees how everything progresses from there. And indeed, as I say that, and with 5 laps to go, we go through 2 kilometres in 5:27. Ingebrigtsen's just starting to move up now.
Slow second K there. Jack Rowe had gone into the lead, but it's even slower. And you can see the Flemish athlete John Heymans, the first man to lose his patience and say, I did not come here to run slow and not make the final. Heymans, the man keen to take up the running. Let's see if he's notched down that time. And okay, 30 seconds per 200 metres. That is more like it. That is 2:30 pace for the kilometre. That would be phenomenal if they could close around about 2:30, maybe a notch under, but might see something like that in the final. But Heymans has gone for it here. Parsons and Ingebrigtsen just chilling at the back at the moment. Heymans piling on the pressure. Jack Rowe is in a good position here. He reacted well to this move, but he could get boxed as the athletes come around the outside. Augusto doing what everybody does in these endurance races, making a move but not actually getting anywhere. They just love to change position behind the leader. No one quite wants to commit to leading, so they just reshuffle themselves over and over.
Jakob Ingebrigtsen goes into the lead. There's about 7 athletes in this. Augusto of France is making.
And it's the bell in this first heat in the men's 3,000 metres. Jakob Ingebrigtsen bided his time for the first 2 kilometres, moved up well, and this is his big kick to spread out the field. There are a lot of men here. Just 6 automatic qualifying times, and it's not super quick. They're going to be around about 8 minutes, just a shade outside. Augusto of France looking like the best man to match the pace of Ingebrigtsen at the moment. Sam Parsons working hard to keep himself in the top 6. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 man across the line. Emil Danielson there. So Jack Rowe for company. Van der Bert of Netherlands doing really well to get himself in the top 6. 2:28 for the last kilometre. And I think that's potentially the tiredest we've seen Jakob Ingebrigtsen look. Could sense Jakob Ingebrigtsen coming, got himself into the lead to give himself the very best shot at a fast last 200.
Yeah, Sam Parsons as well, just tracking what Ingebrigtsen was doing up front. Bastian Augusto separating the 2 men. And Parsons well aware that he was in a comfortable qualifying position. He was just looking around, just checking where everybody was. As you can see, Bastian Augusto. Augusto looking strong at this stage. Be interesting to see. Of course, we have Ingebrigtsen down, as I'm sure almost everybody does, as the gold medal favourite, but it does look quite open for silver and bronze potentially.
The results of that first heat in the men's 3,000 metres. Jakob Ingebrigtsen taking the win from Bastian Augusto. Sam Parsons in 3rd.
Right, the second of the 2 heats in the men's 3,000 metres. 10 men in this heat, and as we were saying, quite comfortable qualifying conditions for most of these men. Looking at Charles Grethen. Well, Grethen, normally we look at him in 1,500 metre races. He's the Luxembourg record holder over 1,500 metres indoors and out, and he was a 2021 Olympic finalist in Tokyo. Chal, the European indoor champion back in 2017, before Jakob Ingebrigtsen made it his own property. So the 10 men in the field: Grethen of Luxembourg, Myre of Norway, Bibic, Serbia, West of Great Britain, Northern Ireland, Sundström, Sweden, Makaleni of Ireland, Hendricks of Belgium, Padovani of Italy, Mechal of Spain, and Poppen. Mike Poppen, who we've seen a lot of on the international circuit and at European athletics meetings, is in this race for the Netherlands. So, looking a bit quicker than the rather pedestrian opening lap or so of the first race. Well, these men will know that if they don't get into the top 6, there are 3 places available for non-automatic qualifiers. And I'm sure a few athletes, and Poppen perhaps, has run 750 this year, so not in his best form. But Poppen's making this a fairly decent race at this stage. Bang on 8-minute pace. So it's a fair bit quicker than the previous race, which was very sedentary through the first 3 laps. Started to gradually ratchet up. At the moment, Poppen, Sundström just behind him. The Swede, also James West. There was 11 men over 5:55 in the pole vault, and 2 men hadn't come in. Gudmundsson, the Norwegian, hadn't come in, and Laveni had passed at 5:55, so still 13 men in this competition. The bar's gone up to 5:65.
It's a lovely conversation between Mike Foppen and James West for me there when we came onto the back straight. Mike Foppen moved sideways, James West came through the inside. They're moving at a very lovely pace, around about 7:44 pace here, which is a time that a lot of these athletes are capable of, but they've got themselves organised. I did think we might see Mike Foppen lead. He's done a 13:11 5k equal, underneath the national record outdoors for Holland in Boston. Robin Hendricks was in that race as well. He did 13:17. So those 2 men in orange and white just coming up on the shoulder of James West are in 5k shape. I was thinking when we look towards the final, they might be 2 men that we'd see that want it to be a hard, fast race, particularly if Jakob Ingebrigtsen's a little bit tired, versus the likes of Adel Michel, who's moving himself up a little bit, but he's a 1500 metre guy and a 3k. He's so fast over 1500 metres, as is Charles Grethen. So those 2 athletes, they won't like this. They'd rather have a bit of a sit and a burn up. But Robin Hendricks of Belgium is pushing himself up into the lead. 31-second lapping is very good from these men.
Yes, they went through 1 kilometre in 2:39, so that's a good 5 seconds faster than the first heat. It's quite probable we're going to see at least 2 of the non-automatic qualifiers, I would imagine, coming from this particular heat. It's ticking along very nicely, as you were saying, Hannah. Hendricks keeping the pace fairly steady at the front alongside James West. Does look as though it's easing back just a little bit.
Well, this is very similar to
It's got some good championship credentials. It's 5th at the last European Championships over 5,000 metres outdoors in Munich.
Easy as you like, the Polish man.
As Hannah was saying, he's a 13:11 man at best over 5,000 metres. That's a decent turn of speed at the end of a race as well.
Of his lifetime best.
James West just tracking him very comfortably as well. And Robin Hendricks, as I said, I think I said his good run was in Berlin. It was actually just a bit further south. It was in Karlsruhe just earlier this season. But Hendricks as well, perhaps a man who's come here with medal aspirations.
So it's interesting to me, James West was keen to get this race moving at the start, and then he's refused to come through the last couple of times he's been invited by Hendricks or Foppen. He's a 3:35 1500 metre runner, so he doesn't need it to be lightning quick. 2:39 through the second kilometre, so exactly the same time as the first kilometre, but markedly faster than the first heat. So I do think we'll see the non-automatic qualifiers coming from this race, as they'll surely pick up as we move through into the last half mile or so, and naturally will as they start to race each other. But it's all been Hendricks and Foppen in that middle K. James West has picked himself a very good position to ensure himself a 6th place, top 6th place, but he doesn't seem to really be helping with the pace anymore.
No, and also not helping with the pace, but looking very comfortable further down the field are the likes of Michel. Michel's just moved up into 4th place at the moment, but now starting to go around the outside. Maybe Michel, this is a move, and he's going to start ratcheting up the pace over these final 4 laps. We've also got further down Elzem Bibic as well. Now the tall Serbian moving up as well. Charles Grethen not looking quite as comfortable. Grethen, the Luxembourg athlete, better known as a 1500 metre man, in 6th place at the moment. He got very slightly detached there, has had to work just a little bit over the last 150 metres just to get back, tagged onto the back of that leading group. And as it's Hendricks now starting to increase the pace as they come round, and they'll see 2 laps to go, 400 metres to go. Well, they'll be very familiar with the process here. This is 1 lap on an outdoor track They hear the bell outdoors over 3,000 metres at this point in the race. Hendricks now pushing just a little bit further and a bit harder. Michel on his shoulder. These men know that they can race pretty comfortably, that they don't have to race too hard to be in the leading 6. And it's Hendricks, Michel, West, Bibic, Foppen now drifting back. As Bibic comes round the outside and really starts to motor, he hears the bell, 200 metres to go. And it's Bibic now pushing hard, making sure of his qualification. James West tucking himself in, slipstreaming behind the Serbian. Magaheny coming up right the way round the outside. Michel also in that leading trio, so it's Bibic, West and Michel, all three of them looking around. They know they've qualified comfortably. Now Magaheny coming through for 4th place as well. Good run from the Irishman. We didn't really talk very much about him at the race. He was tucked in at the back, but he timed his finish to perfection. So, confirmation, 7:50.22 unofficially, so much quicker than the first race. Revised to 7:50.21. Magaheny, Grethen, who we were looking at during the course of that race, looked as though he was in a little bit of trouble in the penultimate lap, but came through quite strongly in the end. So we see the closing stages of the race. Bibic, nice turn of speed from the bell. Winning with ease, but having to come the long way round. He saw traffic in front of him with 200 metres to go. Yes, there we go, confirmation. Elzem Bibic of Serbia in 7:50.21. Adel Michel 7:50.69 and James West 7:50.73. So now the men's 3,000 metres final. Quite a packed field. Well, there's 15 men. I'll give you the full lineup as we get the race underway. But on the inside, it's Charlie Grethen, better known as a 1,500 metre runner, a 3:32 1,500 metre runner, and he's got a kick. I can't really think of anything new to say about Jakob Ingebrigtsen. 10 European senior titles to his name. Already won the 1,500 metres in a championship record. So just to give you the full lineup and give every runner the respect that they deserve, we've got Grethen of Luxembourg, Bibic of Serbia, Rowan West of Great Britain, Northern Ireland, Poppin of the Netherlands, Magaheny of Ireland, Augusto, and I would keep an eye out for Bastien Augusto. He looked very good winning the French indoor title. Danielsson of Sweden, Sundström also from Sweden, Mire of Norway, Hendricks, who we've seen from Belgium, Michel of Spain, Parsons, Germany. Well, Ingebrigtsen's decided to make this an honest race after a sedentary first couple of laps. Ingebrigtsen getting to the front. Well, they went through 400 metres in a very, very sluggish. Just checking the time.
Jakob Ingebrigtsen's just turning the screw a little bit at the front of this race. A few 33-second laps down to 31. That's a shade under 8-minute pace. 32 seconds per lap gives you that 8-minute pace. Jakob Ingebrigtsen asking for help from Adel Michel, and Adel Michel, new Spanish indoor record at the Birmingham World Indoor Tour final. He's got a kick on him. So is Charles Grethen, and that's a lot closer to the front than Charles Grethen was in the heats. And here comes Augusto of France. Robin Hendricks just biding his time. Adel Michel is too polite. I don't know why he's taking the lead there from Jakob Ingebrigtsen. He should have left him to it. 2:41 through the first kilometre. It's around about 8:03 pace. Very modest for all the men in this field. Now Jakob Ingebrigtsen back in the lead. That's been a big move from James West to get himself up into third position. He's a 3:34 guy. He's alongside a 3:32 and a 3:33, and Jakob Ingebrigtsen on what, 3:28? It's 1,500 metres man's game at the front here. and they're not running that quick. This is very smart of Jakob Ingebrigtsen. He's running just quick enough to stop the likes of Robin Hendricks and Mike Foppen and maybe even Sam Parsons from saying, enough's enough, that's way too slow. He's moved it into the realms of respectability, and that makes everyone else relax and think, I don't want to get past you. And that plays into Jakob Ingebrigtsen's hands, because if there's a sprint finish, if he's in a good position like this, the turn of pace that he had in the men's 1500 metres, it was a ferocious last lap. Michelle went on to the press and said, I watched that race and I knew there's no way I can beat him, which isn't a great attitude to take into a race, but realistic perhaps.
Well, Ingebrigtsen has cranked up the pace over that last 200 metres, and it's cranked it up fairly significantly. The pace now dropping towards 7:50 mark. And I really think that there's possibly an error of the likes of Parsons and Hendricks not to be more courageous at the front, just to leave it to the sprinters like Ingebrigtsen and Michal. 6 laps to go.
Jakob Ingebrigtsen's got a habit of doing this. We can see on the graphic on the screen it's down to 30 seconds per 200 metres. He's lifting that pace ever so slightly. We see this in so many of his races, even at the European cross country. At 10,000, he had no right to mix it over a hilly, tough course with men that are so much used to racing over those longer distances. But Jakob Ingebrigtsen, doesn't matter if it's indoors, outdoors, cross country, he has picked up so many European titles. To come through this time, it will be 1 kilometre to go for the field, 2:33 for the second kilometre, markedly faster, and it's all been Jakob Ingebrigtsen at the front controlling this race.
Yes, 5:15.53 at 2 kilometres, and now it's Ingebrigtsen at the front, and he's ever increasing the pace. Michal looking as though he's straining just behind him. Bibic up there as well. Bastien Augusto and Rowe as well of Great Britain, Northern Ireland. Bibic has moved from a long way back. He's got a good kick as Bibic, the tall Serbian, possibly the tallest man in the field, easy to spot in the blue vest of Serbia in 4th place at the moment. So
It's absolutely brutal from Jakob Ingebrigtsen. That was a 29-second 200 metres. He's just inching it down. Now we've got to keep an eye on James West. He's lost his number off the front of his vest. He's not appearing on the graphic. That will have the timing chip, but he is there in 3rd place at the moment. Augusto trying to make a move. All of a sudden it's 3 laps to go. That's what happens in a 3,000. There's so many laps to go, and then all of a sudden you're into the last 600 metres.
Right, well, it's Ingebrigtsen still towing it away. Just 500 metres to go. Michal on his shoulder, struggling it seems, but that's often the racing style of Adel Michal. Bastien Augusto having a great race at the moment. Now Elvin Bibic deciding to get around the outside, tucking himself into 3rd. 400 metres to go, but it's still Jakob Ingebrigtsen in front, as he's been for the best part of the last 2 kilometres. Michal trying to go through the gears, but it doesn't look as though there's much there. Now the leading 3 have separated themselves from the rest of the field, and it's Ingebrigtsen, Michal, Elvan Bibic. Bibic having a great race there in 3rd, looking very relaxed at the moment, in sharp contrast to Michal. But Ingebrigtsen at the front, he's absolutely majestic. Bibic now starting to drift just a little bit off the back. Now going through the gears, Jakob Ingebrigtsen, he just looks so calm and collected, so fluent in his running style. Michal starting to unravel after that brief attack from the bell, hobbling almost, looking around as Jakob Ingebrigtsen strides away for yet another double. Jakob Ingebrigtsen is not only the 1500 metres champion, but the 3000 metres champion. His time, unofficially, 7:40.33, his 11th senior European title. Who can stop Jakob Ingebrigtsen on the continental stage? And it's a national record indeed for Jakob Ingebrigtsen. He doesn't run many 3,000 metres indoors, but when he does, he is almost unstoppable.
Should be holding up 2 fingers. 11th European Championship, Senior European Championships.
That would have been a very good thing. Yeah, that was a really good idea.
Too busy running laps and laps and laps of the track, isn't he?
He is indeed, yes.
9 kilometres of the track here for Jakob Ingebrigtsen. Surely he's a bit dizzy. You might ask if he can do his warm down the other way round.
So it's already been a good day for Norway. Silver in the heptathlon just a short while ago, and now yet another gold for the Ingebrigtsen household. Jakob Ingebrigtsen winning in 7:40.32, a national record. Adelma Charles silver in 7:41.